look forward to your insight on the critical role that corporate social responsibility can play in promoting economic development in the region, especially in the border areas, sir. You being from the region, your rich experience and perspectives will act as advantage for anyone who wants to contribute to Northeast. Sir, your guidance will be invaluable as we work together to create a brighter future for the people of Northeast. CII has consistently emphasized the strategic importance of Northeast region, where each development project directly links to the national security, sir. Honorable Minister, we are hopeful that this platform will unite the important stakeholders for the making a positive impact for this strategic region. As discussed yesterday, in this forum, the bilateral cooperation with Bangladesh has opened up a lot of avenues for industry to do business in the region by using the Chittagong port. That would also lead to more investments and activities on socio-development. I am sure today's agenda will also take us through more strategic decisions. Your address will set the context of the day, sir. Sir, the North East CSR Connect is a transformative project that CII is taking up for the region over the next 4-6 years. We would like to work closely with you and your ministry to take forward the growth journey of the region. With this, may I request our Honorable Minister to kindly deliver his valedictory speech. Sir.
Namaskar, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. And for the first time I have attended such an event in so early in the morning, so 10 o'clock. Generally my session starts at 11 o'clock in the morning in my parliament, but for this 10 o'clock session I have to ready early in the morning. And thanks, and what a nice gathering, and really thanks to you. And I'm sorry that I would have to leave this venue just after my speech. Actually, I prepared a speech last night. I prepared a speech. Now coming here, seeing some books and some things reiterated by my senior friends. Now I have changed. No, I don't think that this is to be delivered here. So instead of that, at the very outset, I'd like to congratulate you and really all the stakeholders of CII and all the other partners of our corporate houses. And we are thankful to you being Northeastern people, because I'm from Northeast, from Assam. Most of you you know it. So being a representative from my Northeastern region, I have practically experienced, seen how the CSR projects and programs are going on, how right from CII to other stakeholders of our industries have contributed in all the spheres of our society, our life. So as a simple citizen, common citizen, I thank you at the very outset. Now coming to the point, as a minister or as a socio-political cultural worker, I too have some observations regarding all these things, and that is CSR, just to be honest, when I was in cultural field, I take the opportunity to tell you that basically I am from cultural field. I used to produce audio, video, music, cinema, documentary, contents for television, radios. So basically I earn my bread and butter from the cultural arena as a producer, director, or as a cultural worker, better to say. So this is my background. So I was a publicity consultant during those days in 2000 or 2010. I thought that CSR programs are to promote our culture. I was limited in that. Whenever we used to organize an event, then I would have knocked at the door of some corporate house that please contribute something for promotion of our culture, like that. But now, when I came practically to the practical field of socio-political arena, then I came to know, no, it's a broad, it's a different. But now again, when I, entered to the parliament, I experienced something different. So now my observation is a little bit different. So we'll sit again next time. I will discuss with you. CIA is there, so I will again face you, speak to you, learn from you. But now, within 10-15 minutes, I will express my views and I will seek your permission for my next meeting. So recent years are characterized by greater awareness and more proactive engagements by Indian corporate entities in their CSR initiatives. Organizations are stepping up efforts to give back to the communities that they operate in. So I'm keeping aside this speech, which I read it last night. Yet I notice a critical need for some adjustment in overall approach to CSR. Instead of engaging in arbitrary acts of philanthropy, I see the need for organizations to adopt a long-term and strategic approach to CSR. By providing a thematic and strategic direction to CSR activities, an organization can not only achieve the short-term goal of engaging with the community, but also contribute immensely towards Honorable Prime Minister Modi's vision of creating a developed India by 2047. I would like to take this opportunity to appeal to our corporates to take a long-term view of CSR and identify some priority themes that genuinely require assistance. This approach will involve thoughtfully mapping the social needs and challenges against the resources available at the disposal of the organization. In my view, organizations need to prioritize themes such as education, livelihood, healthcare, infrastructure, and environment in such a way that the investment continues to provide enduring returns. Just to illustrate my point, let's zoom into the theme of environment. Climate change has now brought the earth to a point where we must direct our energies to tackle the extreme weather events and also to build capacities for a sustainable future. As I speak, more than 1 million people in Assam have been badly affected by floods in Assam. More than 1 million. And I think approximately 38 people lost their lives in this ongoing flood. Both the central and state government have been working on war footing to address the situation. But climate change and overall ecology in the region have meant that the government efforts also need to be backed by corporate resources in effectively tackling the issue of floods in the state. CSR initiatives directed towards addressing some of these extreme weather events, such as the Assam floods, will go a long way in mitigating the impacts of climate change and also in providing immediate assistance to people who have been suffering because of this natural calamity. Short-term assistance post-flood. I appeal to this August forum. Therefore, my request to you will be to shun the mechanical CSR approach that is aimed merely at meeting the regulatory requirement, but also to allocate the funds in a way that brings transformative changes on priority themes. If our organizations focus on some of these themes, such as climate change, while leveraging their core strengths, they will be able to effectively address some of the long-term challenges and create shared values. A structured and well-planned strategy will not only enhance the corporate reputation, but will also contribute immensely towards meeting the sustainable development goals of the nation. In my view, that is how our corporates, both public and private, will be able to play a more effective role in nation building. So our CII and all our corporate houses are working tremendously. I have already thanked and acknowledged, yes, but we look forward that on priority basis we will focus on some specialized, special themes already I have mentioned. And as I am Minister of Textiles as well, MOS of Textile, I am very proud to say, and I always take pride to say, that 50% of handlooms, 50% of handlooms in India are there in our Northeast. I was told that there may be 3.5 millions of handlooms are there, and 50% of these handlooms are concentrated in our Northeast. 50% of weavers are there in Northeast. You know, every 20 kilometers, the motifs, the design, the color combination, the style of weaving changes. You know, there are 200 tribes, sub-tribes, more than 200 languages and dialects are there in our Northeast. We're rich in culture, in, language, in customs, in culture, in dance, music, and in textiles as well. So, and textiles is a field. After, textiles is a field where more than 3 to 5 million people are engaged in Northeast. So, to increase employment, to increase the better life and livelihood, I think textile is handloom and handicraft are a field where our CII and all our stakeholders can focus on this from the perspective of CSR contribution. So that's all today. We'll meet you again. Thanks for the invitation. And I'm really proud, honored to be amongst this August gathering. And I do look forward to work with all our stakeholders and our CII. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bande Mataram.
For your insightful perspective. We have noted your viewpoints, and especially as you said, CSR and culture. So I would like to tell you, you are not wrong that time. Culture along with arts is definitely a part of CSR. And you spoke about strategic and long term. We have noted that also, and we have noted your flood relief. Yeah, flood relief. So I would like to just tell you, sir, that CII also has got a CSR foundation, and every year in the floods, we are doing some relief activities over there. And this time, as you have requested, sir, we'll give a more importance to it, and we'll see that we get more funds on that, and we do a good relief thing. Now, coming to CSR, I think CSR is again connected to the industrialization and the investment coming in Northeast. And I would say I'll be very thankful to your government and the Chief Minister particularly that the industrial, say, policy you have made, it is one of the best, and the dynamic change in the total industries department is again, I think, is appreciative, and that will bring a lot of CSR, say, and lot of say socio-economic upliftment will be there in the society. So thank you, sir, for the government. I think we all others in other states, we have to follow that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nice experience. So allow me. Thank you.
Sure, sure.
So thank you for. I'm sorry that in the meeting.
Thank you for giving us time. You are such a
so fast. Thank you. I'm honored.
Thanks a lot. So I need your I'll take it from them.
Excuse me?
Hello, everyone. Our next session will start in the next 5 minutes, and it will explore impact stories, businesses driving social change. So kindly requesting you to remain seated, and we will start the session shortly. session of the day. Our second session is on impact stories, businesses driving social change. We are fortunate enough today to have two speakers to explore their CSR activity in the region. And with this, I would like to invite the dais on the stage. Mr. Divyang Wagela, Head, WASH, Tata Trust. Mr. Shant Krishna, Senior Program Director, North East Piramal Foundation. And joining them on stage in the dais is Brigadier Ashish Bhattacharya, Principal Advisor, Northeast and Union Territories, CII.
Thank you.
I would now like to give the time to Brigadier Ashish Bhattacharya to take forward the session.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. After a very good first session with the Minister of State for MEA and Textiles, I think the context has already been set. And we've been talking for the last, yesterday and today about bringing up the Northeast through CSR route. Now, it is not that it is being done for the first time. Many of the corporates, the top corporates of the country, have contributed tremendously over a period of time to bring up that area, that the social change in that area has come with the contribution of all. And I think it was in good intent that we thought that some of these stories could be brought up in front of you so that the people who hear this may think about, improving or increasing their thrust in the area of CSR deployment and look at best practices. So we've spoken about the best practices for NGOs, and today we want to discuss some of the best practices that the corporates have put in place to ensure that the CSR fund reaches the right target population, which has, the impact at the grassroots level, which is what we are looking for. So with this introduction, I would, we have two speakers, one from Piramal Foundation and one from Tata Trust, and I have no doubt that all of you know where they stand in the CSR activities in the country. So first I will, I'll invite Mr. Sanat Krishna. He is the Senior Program Director, Northeast for Piramal Foundation, to please take the mic and illuminate us with all the best practices and what successes they have had in the Northeast with their CSR funding. Over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. And a very good morning to everybody assembled here. I am Shant Krishna, and I am representing Piramal Foundation. So I am a person who fell in love with the Northeast the very first time I visited the place. And though I belong to the southern part of India, it was always my dream to live and work in the Northeast region. And after long years of wait, when I finally got that opportunity, I simply grabbed it with both hands and both legs. I didn't want to let go of it, right? And since then, it's been a great experience for me working in the Northeast region. And so a conclave like this means a lot to me and to our foundation. So I would first of all like to thank the organizers for coming up with this conclave, which I believe would set the direction for more investment of development of the Northeast region. So today I'll just share a few insights into the work that we do across the country as a whole and also in the Northeast region in particular. So the Piramal Foundation exists with the purpose of serving the most underserved, underprivileged, and the marginalized and vulnerable communities across India. Right? We believe in delivering impact at scale, and so as you would see the numbers, right, that is something that we've been able to do, and that's because we believe that to deliver impact at scale, it is imperative to work closely with the government. And so all our initiatives are always aligned with the initiatives of the government and are always convergent with the efforts of the government. And we are focused predominantly in three domains. We deliver outcomes in the domains of health, education, and water. And through our efforts in these three domains, we've been able to impact the lives of 113 million people across 27 states and 2 union territories of India. We also believe that, to maximize the returns of our investments and our efforts, it is imperative that we partner with, various experts across, various experts. And so we do have partnerships with various multilateral agencies, with multiple CSRs, with different departments of the government, and also with multiple universities of world, which are renowned across the world. Right? And in partnership with them, we build our solutions and take our programs forward. So through the last 16 years, the experience that we gathered over these 16 years, what we realized is that the problems that we are trying to solve are complexly interconnected. Even though they might be in different domains, they are complexly interconnected, and hence it may not be possible to solve any of these problems in isolation. And so therefore, we believe that in order to solve these problems, we need to apply a more systemic lens in order to devise holistic, comprehensive solutions with multi-pronged approaches, right? And so therefore, we have organized ourselves into 4 main verticals, right, which try to solve problems within the systems of multiple types. We have the Annamaya, or the Tribal Health Collaborative, and the Aspirational Bharat Collaborative, which focuses on solving systemic issues within the civil society. And then we also have the Piramal School of Leadership and the Digital Bharat Collaborative, which focuses on solving systemic issues within the government systems, right? To give you a bit more detail, the Piramal School of Leadership drives leadership development within the government, right? And it focuses on building leadership capabilities among the middle managers of the government. The Digital Bharat Collaborative focuses on strengthening, it drives digitization, right? And it focuses on strengthening public systems for digital transformation. The Aspirational Bharat Collaborative focuses on decentralization, which builds hyper-local collaboration and last-mile convergence at the panchayat level. And the Tribal Health Collaborative drives inclusion, which focuses on mainstreaming tribal agendas and practices, right? We would love to explain this to you in more detail, but given the paucity of time, I'm not doing it, but we would request you to come to our stall where we can give you more details about the exact theories of change that are driving these initiatives. Now, the problem that we are trying to solve has been discussed since yesterday by multiple speakers, right? And so we are all aware that India ranks very low and it is lagging behind on multiple SDG goals, right? And the indicators that are there on screen, some sample indicators from some of the domains that we are working on, they clearly show that we are lagging behind by a long way, and there are serious problems, right? Even more specifically, when we get into domains, and if you look at indicators in domains of health and nutrition or in the domains of education, the indicators and the numbers tell us that we still are a long way behind when it comes to actually achieving our SDG goals, right? What we want to focus here particularly is that while on one side there's a great India growth story, right, which the whole world is standing up and taking notice, there is a huge section of our population which has been left out of this growth story, right? And this bottom quartile, as we call it, is largely concentrated in the aspirational districts and in the eastern part of the country, right? Why is this significant? This is because these aspirational districts come with their own set of complexities, their own set of challenges, right? And many of us here working in the aspirational districts may be well aware of it, right? We have we have about 25 tribal majority districts. We have flood-prone districts. We have districts which share international borders with other countries. We have left-wing extremist affected districts, right? All of these compound the challenges of driving our outcomes in around these SDG indicators in these districts especially. And so therefore it's quite obvious to understand that these are the most backward districts for a reason, right? Now, if these districts were a country on their own, if these 112 districts were a country on their own, as per the HDI ranking, they would rank at about 185 out of 190, which is even lower than South Sudan and Ethiopia. That's the state of affairs in these districts, and they are compounded by the intrinsic complexities of these districts. And Niti Aayog believes that even if we can get a 2% nominal economic growth in these districts, that would lead to a GDP growth of 4 lakh crores. And so as on date, these districts which are actually drawing from our economy, if improved, can start actually contributing towards the economy and driving the growth towards our $5 trillion economy that we are all targeting, right? So it's critical to focus on these districts. If you look at the CSR landscape, the landscape of CSR funding in aspirational districts, more than 53% of the funds that are spent in aspirational districts are concentrated in just 5 states, whereas the 8 northeastern states receive less than 5% of the total money spent on CSR in the aspirational districts, right? So given these challenges, we are all aware of the government mandate and priorities where, there is a great focus by the Prime Minister and the Indian government to develop these aspirational districts and the Northeast region of India, right? And this program has evolved from aspirational districts program to aspirational blocks program, as we all know, and that's for a good reason, right? People working in the aspirational districts would know that similar indicators, while say Northeast as a region itself is so diverse, right? But even within the Northeast region and within the states of the Northeast region and within the districts of the Northeast region, the problems though might seem similar, their manifestation, the root causes of those problems, and the solutions that need to be proposed for their problems, vary greatly because of the conditions within the district itself, right? Take for example a district like Barpeta. Suppose we are tackling with the problem of low institutional delivery in a district like Barpeta, while the problem might be across the district. The reasons for that problem in say a block which lies in the Chaur areas are very, very different from the reasons for that problem in the other mainland areas of the district, right? And so the problems, the way they manifest themselves, the root causes and the solutions are very, very different, very, very contextual. And so the solutions too need to be extremely contextualized and hyperlocal. And given this fact, I think the government has mandated that we look at the block as the last mile as the unit of change at the last mile, rather than looking at the district. And so therefore, as on date, we have about 500 aspirational blocks across the country, which are even outside the aspirational districts currently. And in the Northeast region, we have 41 aspirational blocks, which are spread across 32 districts of the Northeast region. Out of these, only 14 are aspirational districts, and 14 aspirational districts have aspirational blocks. But now it's been, there are more number of blocks identified across the region. I just want to, give you a brief insight into the work that we have done in the aspirational districts over the past 6 years. Right, we started off in 2018, partnering with Niti Aayog to work in 25 aspirational districts, followed by and then we subsequently expanded to all the 112 districts, and we were able to successfully demonstrate outcomes at scale across the 3 domains of education, health, and water. Right? Some of the figures are there on the screen for you to see. I'm not going into the details of those figures, but this is just to give an idea of the impact that we've been able to accomplish in these aspirational districts across education, health, and nutrition. When COVID came, I think that was one of the critical junctures for our organization as well, just like how it was for the whole world. And during COVID, we again reinvented ourselves to focus on saving lives. And at that time, the most vulnerable population who were prone to morbidity were senior citizens. So we focused on first saving the lives of senior citizens through a campaign called Surakshit Dada Dadi Nana Nani Abhiyan. And subsequently, we ran 2 more campaigns which are focused on saving lives and vaccination. Our work in the aspirational districts has been well recognized and appreciated by different forums and platforms across the world. This is just for an information. And from here, moving on to our work in the Northeast zone. The context of developmental work in the Northeast zone is, has been discussed since yesterday, and there have been a lot of challenges which people have stated and spelled out since yesterday, right? We know that there are challenges of, terrain, the complexities of, the kind of topography that we are working in, and subsequently, the indicators that we see. We see 43% of schools are in the remote areas, 33% women are married before the age of 18. But these things apart, I think one of the indicators that I would want to focus, because we work on decentralization at the last mile with the panchayats, is that only 8.1% of the total 15 Finance Commission funds have been utilized in the Northeast zone, right? There are other critical numbers which people are aware of, so I'm not going into the details. At this point, I would want to focus on an aspect which probably we haven't touched upon till now. So while these challenges are well known, right, I think there is another side to the Northeast which has been spelled out by people in terms of how beautiful the entire zone is and the entire region is. And there's no disagreement with that this is a very, very beautiful region of our country. But at the same time, the beauty of the zone is not just within the landscape or the natural beauty that it's been bestowed with. Just to give you a few examples to emphasize what I'm saying, I'm sure many of you would have heard about things like the Ima market in Manipur, right, which is the only women-driven market in the world. That entire market is run by women. Right? You might have heard of Mavlinong, which is the cleanest village in Asia. While Mavlinong became famous across the country and across the continent, I think most villages in Meghalaya are so neat and clean, right? You might have also seen certain viral videos of the traffic sense in Mizoram's Aizawl city, right? And I'm not sure if how many of you have heard of the shopless shopkeepers of shopkeeperless shops of Mizoram, right? Now, what do these tell us? There is an innate beauty in the fabric of the society of Northeast, right? What we understand from this is that there is a deep sense of ownership towards the community, towards my community, my village, my people, right? There's a certain civic sense that that's very rare to find in the rest of the country, right? There's a sense of pride and, this people holding on to their traditions, their tribal traditions, right? The trust that communities have between each other. I think these are all softer elements which we truly believe need to be leveraged if we have to drive our developmental agenda in the Northeast zone. So while there are a large number of challenges in this region, there are so many positives which are on the softer side, but yet they open up so many possibilities for us to actually take our developmental agenda forward in this region. And we as a foundation have made efforts to see how we could leverage on these positives. And through our initiatives, which I stated earlier around decentralization, inclusion and digitization, we've been able to do quite a lot of work in the Northeast region. We are still building and still learning how we could actually, leverage all these positives and possibilities in driving the solutions that we want to provide. Just to give you a few numbers, within the Northeast region, our organization has invested about 170 crores. And we work with the principle that if we invest a rupee, we get at least 10x from the government and from our other partners. So we are moving towards that. We work in all the 8 states of Northeast in about 60 districts, including all the aspirational districts. We have about 800 staff deployed in the Northeast region, and we partner with the Niti Aayog and different state governments for working in this region, right? And through our work here, we've been able to demonstrate outcomes across education, health, and water, right? We've demonstrated outcomes, we've improved student learning outcomes, enrollment, dropouts we've reduced, right? Transition rates we've been able to improve. In health, similarly, we've had a very, very successful campaign for driving TB Mukt Bharat, TB Ashwasan. Our helpline of 104 has an extremely high number of incoming calls for support. Similarly, in water, we've been able to work closely with the communities to strengthen the village water and sanitation committees. And all this has been built on our belief that community systems change and government systems change are the way to actually lead development for a sustained period in the long term and at large scale. These have been our efforts in the Northeast region so far. And I would like to make a pitch to the people present here, right? We believe that transforming aspirational districts and transforming Northeast India can lead the way for a Viksit Bharat. And so our proposal is that it would be great if there are 41 aspirational blocks in Northeast. So if each CSR organization can adopt one aspirational block and invest in critical infrastructure, innovation, strengthening communities and strengthening the government systems, then this is, it's a tried and tested way for actually driving long-term sustainable change in these regions. Thank you for patiently listening to me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Sanat. It was a great exposition. While we knew that the overall, as when we compare with the Indian figures, the percentage of funds that go into CSR fund that go into the Northeast was very, very low. But I was surprised with this figure of aspirational district also being so low, because when we look at fund being deployed, we always thought that most of it was going into the aspirational districts. So I think that makes CII's role even more important in this now, and concentrate on these aspirational districts also. And the other shocking thing that you told us was that we rank below South Sudan and Ethiopia. Now, if we do, then I think this should be the catalyst for us to work towards the first point that I brought up. But before I hand over the mic to the next speaker, I just wanted to ask, like whenever we get the details of the projects from the Northeast, from the government, so at the back end I find in many of these cases there are NGOs lined up. Now I am talking about context over here also. So many of these projects have been submitted by the NGOs. They have been cleared by the government and taken on board and thereafter driven by the government. So to the audience here, would you like to cover a part of that, how that works out for between Piramal Foundation and the NGOs?
So, Piramal Foundation, when we work in these districts, right, in the aspirational districts, one of the things that we are trying to do is to build a collaborative of hyperlocal entities, right? We believe that, while there are many large NGOs and large organizations working in these districts, right, the nuances of those districts are something which only the hyperlocal entities would understand much more than us, right? जो हम बोलते हैं ना ज़मीन जंगल जात पानी झगड़ा, these are things which only the hyperlocal NGOs understand to an extent which which requires being deep rooted in those communities, right? So Piramal Foundation is now building a collaborative wherein we are bringing in these hyperlocal entities like smaller NGOs, youth from local colleges, right, who want to contribute to their communities, self-help groups, faith leaders, all of whom have a great influence on how the developmental agenda is being driven in the district, right? So through this hyperlocal collaborative, we would want to bring on close to, if possible, get at least 1,000 NGOs on board, and then through them drive the agenda of development with partnership between our knowledge and understanding plus their experience and presence on the ground. This is how we are envisioning working with these entities who are actually already deep rooted in those communities and working towards them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think this was the answer that I wanted everyone here to listen, especially the NGOs who come with a lot of expectations over here. So thank you so much. And now can I request Mr. Divyang Waghela? He's the head of WASH in Tata Trust. All of us who have come from the Northeast would know that the amount of work Tata Trust has been doing in Assam especially, and now they are spreading all over India, especially on the cancer care facilities that they are creating, 9 of which are already operational in that area, if I'm not wrong. And another 8 to go?
Yeah.
So my figures are still okay. So it is, that is the type of work they are doing. So over to him.
Thank you very much, sir.
In his words.
Good morning to everyone. So thanks for this opportunity to CII, I think, to share some of the good experiences, learnings in the Northeast region. Yeah, so I think the Tata Trust, I think many of you might be knowing, it's one of the oldest philanthropic institution in the country, with close to 130 years of the legacy carrying forward. Also would like to also make one small clarification that we are not CSR. We are a foundation. It's a foundation created in 1895, the first foundation, and since then there are various trusts which have been created by the founders, owners of the group, and that's why this is a bit different than the CSR, this foundation. Also would like to quote the how the journey started in 1895. The Jamshedji Tata, I think his famous quote is that in a free enterprise, the community is not just another stakeholder in business, but it's in fact the very purpose of its existence. So I think that the philosophy, we say that how you look at the community as a part of your existence, that's important, and that with that philosophy, the corporate social responsibility, which now I think over a period of last 2 or 3 decades have started building that work, but I think that's being created around 130 years ago. So we can see the vision which has been built up. Although the trust have been working in all sustainable development goals, but I think we would like to focus more in terms of the 5 or 7 core areas which I think are important in terms of shifting the needle on the Human Development Index. Health, education, nutrition, water, sanitation and hygiene, crafts, culture, rural livelihood. These are some of the areas where our larger investment, efforts and energy goes into. But I think there are 2 core cross-cutting elements, I think, which we keep in as a part of our lens when we design our program. the climate and gender. I think unless and until we look at the diversity and the emerging challenges which we are facing in the country, specifically in terms of the climate change, it's important to be a more flexible, resilient, to create an ecosystem so that we can address those challenges as we move forward. And hence, I think it's important to focus the climate and gender as one of the critical element. Gender is also an indicator to look at inclusion and equity. Okay, I think now in the governance ecosystem, we see that there is a statutory compliances to build that equity of equal participation. But I think in the social development, unless and until we create a strong leadership within the community, I think the larger shift in the ecosystem will not be able to push. And hence, I think the gender is very, very important and one of the focus area for our work to do. I think the whole philosophy of us to work not in an isolation, but to look at three broader areas. I think the colleague from the Piramal has also mentioned the collaboration is the way to go. Like-minded people, individual institutions need to come together for a common goal, and that's why I think the collaboration is also one of the area for us to focus on. But at the same time, I think we also need to look at how we can challenge ourselves and then look at innovation as a way to go. Unless and until we challenge our conventional thinking, we'll not be able to identify the correct and sustainable solution. And that's why I think the innovation area, which is I think one of the core focus for us to work on. We do implement programs through some of the institutions. And the reason behind that unless and until we make our hands dirty on ground, we'll not be able to understand the strategic importance of those problem statement. And that's why I think our engagement is also a little bit hybrid. We do create institutions, and that's what I think legacy we can create. We have created substantial institutions on ground, and I'll also share with you some of the institutions which are working in the northeastern region. And try to look at how these institutions can become viable both socio-economically as well as institutionally, so that they can solve the problem. There is no need for the organizations like Tata Trust to perpetually work in that region, and that's why I think it's important to create institutions and then build their capability. Today we'll share some case studies, some learnings, because I think this group also need to understand that we are not here to see that what we have done well, but I think how this experiences need to be taken either through investment or through knowledge, and then spread that into the other parts of the northeastern region. I think we need to also understand what are the failures we recognize, and that based on that failures, what we create a new program and how you design the new program. That's why rather than reinventing the wheel, we should try and focus what are the best learnings. Yesterday I was looking at some of the very interesting presentations from the NGOs, and I think we also feel that some of the good learnings could be taken and integrated into the new design thinking rather than reinventing the wheel all over again. Currently, we do work with around 1,000 plus villages through our three organizations. And I think currently we have reached out around 1.25 lakh households and around 50,000 children. Now, as I mentioned, the institutional building is important. So there are three institutions. One is called North East Implementation Development Agency based in Kohima. They work in Nagaland, Mizoram and Arunachal on multi-thematic interventions. And we have a Center for Microfinance and Livelihood. This is another institution we created around 15 years back. And their institution is working in Assam, Tripura and Manipur. So these institutions have now become partly self-sustainable. So they still get some support from the trust, but they become kind of a center of excellence in specific areas to address the challenge. The third very important is Assam Cancer Care Foundation, which Brigadier Baxi just mentioned. I think that's one of the unique model which has been created through the I would say public-private partnership. The government and Tata Trust incubated these institutions, but try to see that how this can actually assure affordable care, specifically in the areas of cancer. I also would like to see that I think being I'm based in Bombay in the head office, but I think that's unfair if we, the people who are actually driving this initiative on the ground, if they will not share the success stories. So I have two senior colleagues with me, Mr. B. Lalrin Kima. He's a regional manager based in Mizoram and looking after also Arunachal. And second is Dr. Major General Jyoti Prakash Prasad, who is the Chief Operating Officer of ACCF, Assam Cancer for Care Foundation. They both will share about the key learning, some of the great programs they have driven over a period of time. And I will also request them to mindful of time, because I think we have to close it. But yeah, over to you, Kima, first, and then Doctor.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Divyang. Thank you to the chairman. So I would just like to start off my presentation with a short story. So imagine you are in 2018, and there is a small boy, Manabir, from Kokrajhar district in Assam. And he joins the Tata Trust football program. Fast forward 2024, today, he is part of the Indian under-21 football squad. So that is the kind of story we would like to tell, and that is the kind of story that we would like to bring forth with these people who are gathered here. And also, just like what Divyang was mentioning, partnership and collaboration is something which we are looking for. And the kind of partnership and collaboration, it is not something that we are inventing out of the blue. It is something which has been tried and tested, which shows result, as you can see on the slide. So I will not read out on the slide because everyone can read. So with this, what we can do as the next step, where can we go? So first and foremost is that for the states of Mizoram and for the states of, when we are saying Mizoram, for the entire states of the Northeast, so Mizoram can also act as a hub for the grassroots football, grassroots badminton, and also there's a potential to have an elite center of excellence, where we would look into sports science as our major next level of intervention. Because currently everyone is kicking the ball. Everyone is smashing the shuttlecocks. So what next? So what next is something that we are always envisioning, and that is what we call innovation. And this can only happen through collaboration. And we came here as a team, as a battalion. So we have my teammates, my colleagues, Sandeep, Nilam, Tia, Kotilia, and many other teammates from the Center for Microfinance and Livelihoods. They are having a stall. So we came as a battalion, and we want to go back with a battalion full of proposals and partnerships. And I will just go to the next story, which we would like to mention here, one of the largest portfolio that we have. So currently, as we speak and as we sit here, farmers in Phek district, Nagaland, they are now harvesting Kufri Jyoti variety of potato, one of the best potato variety in the country. So these are possibilities. And it's not something like I've just mentioned, that it's not something which we invented out of the blue. It is something which is possible through partnership and collaboration. And the way forward of how we are going to achieve this, what is the next mile, how we are going to multiply the impact. So for Mizoram and for the hill states, climate resilient Jhum cultivation is something which we are closely looking at, and which we believe that this is going to be another next level impact change. And together with any other intervention, we would like to look into conservation and also integrated pest disease management, because currently, unlike traditional days, the states of all the northeastern states have been infected with so many epidemic, pandemic, or any kind of diseases we can think of. And livestock being one of the voracious eater of meat in the country, in the parts of the country, so I think meat is something which can still have a lot of positive impact when it comes to food security as well as economic development. And also, like we always mentioned, the Tata Trust and our associate organizations, we always like to work with the community. The community is the one which is always driving. So building up on the knowledge built by the community is also something which we are also looking at. I will not mention so much on the achievement because I think it's well written there. And the last portfolio which I'm just going to talk about is water security. And water, the intervention, we are looking at not only water quality, we are looking at water access, water security, including the health and hygiene. And water, we are not looking at as an isolation. We are looking at through the lens of health as well. So if you intervene on water, you are also intervening on health. And that is why it's a compounded effect. And when it comes to the next way forward of what we need to do, for us, climate resilient approach, that approach is something which we will be working on. And there is an immense potential on rejuvenating the drying springs. I think many of the speakers yesterday have mentioned about our river sources, our water sources being dried up. And there is a possibility to rejuvenate. And I think many of us have known through internet about the world's largest family. That villages in 2023 and 24 during the dry season also, they never run out of water because we are intervening with them through the spring shed management. And the spring source, 4 of their spring source are continuously, perennially giving out water source as we speak today also. So this is a possibility of climate resilient approach when it comes to saving water, conserving water, and making sure that water is available across each portfolio. And also water quality is something which we would like to look at because hill states and the plain areas, the kind of issues we are having, it's different, totally different. And the plain areas, we are having water quality issues, unlike the mountain region. So as simple technology as setting up an iron arsenic removal plant would solve a long way in making sure that there is a community health-driven initiative. So this is also something which we can partner and we can intensely work upon. So that brings to a conclusion of my presentation because Divyang mentioned that there is a paucity of time and I do speak fast a lot. And yeah, over to my next speaker.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. J.P. Prasad from Assam Cancer Care Foundation. Mr. Divyang and the chairperson has already mentioned about it. I've been listening to this CSR initiative in the Northeast. This is my first exposure to such a big forum. I realize we are the greatest example set by any CSR initiative, a philanthropic organization, and when it is joined by the government proposal and government support, how we can make a dent into the public life. And this is what ACCF goes. Assam Cancer Care Foundation has come out with 17 different hospitals of 3 different levels. Level 1, the State Cancer Hospital at Guwahati, which is the state-of-art with facilities. Level 2, 5 of them will be coming to Dibrugarh, Difu, Dhubri, then you have at Borpeta and one at Silchar. We are covering the complete Assam across all the districts. Not a single patient, if I say the community, giving back to the community, not a single person has to travel more than 2.5 to 3 hours to avail this state-of-art facility of cancer care. Nobody since last 2 years. We are too young as of now, just 2 years. We completed on 28th of April, and in these 2 years we have almost done 1.67 lakh OPD patients, of which almost 50,000 have been the fresh case. We have treated them with indoor facilities. Almost 600 odd people have been given admission, because most of our 10 hospitals are daycare hospitals. So in that we have again the same facility. There is no change in the standard. It is, we are treating them radiation with variant machine the state of art, the world famous machine all over in the same state. You may have heard the equipments like PET-CT. It is available in all our L2 centers, the 5 of them, and it's functioning very well. Yes, we had the challenges of giving people the initial starting with these experts. We got them from all over the country. The country supported us. My dedicated doctors who decided to come here not only for money but for giving service to the people. I am standing in front of you, the son of the soil. I'm born and brought up in Assam, lived my life throughout. I'm telling you, I've done my graduation medical from Dibrugarh itself. I'm telling you today, then 86 when we passed out, there was nothing. Once a person is not been able to diagnose, we don't, as a doctor, we are not able to give a good diagnosis. We used to just say that might be that you have got a malignancy. And that's the end of it. Today, my community, the 7 aspirational districts here are availing this facility without selling off any of their land. The out-of-pocket expenditure is almost nil. We are treating almost 90+% of people are through PMJY card. It is possible that when the government is in support of you and when philanthropic institutions are in support of you, everything is possible. Money is never a constraint, neither by the user nor by the giver. There are people who can't afford the initial diagnostic challenges or diagnostic cost for initiating the treatment. We have supporters from us like DMART and other institutions. We are supporting them with financial support so that our institution, the individual gets the treatment to the best. In the state, we are also going and coming up with another state-of-art thing, that is the proton therapy, which is only 2 in the country. One is at Chennai by the Apollo. The second one is the Tata Memorial Hospital at Bombay, at ECTREC. Third, we are planning to go about it, and inshallah, it may come up in another 2 to 3 years' time. And that will be, we are wanting to provide this comprehensive cancer care program, starting from the primary care to the ultimate super specialty things. We have been discussing here since yesterday. I've been listening about the primary and the secondary level of engaging with the CSR project. I request everyone to keep the vision open, and everything is possible. As long as you are giving back to the society, everybody is there to support the cause. So this is the distributed cancer care model, which has unique, I could say, private partnership, unique in the world. If I say, I will not be wrong. The amount of patients who are being benefited here immensely through this treatment is to be seen to believe it. And I request each one of you, most of you are from North East, please come over. And whenever you pass through any of these places, please have a look into this thing. And trust me, I am not just doing it as a marketing thing, because 90% plus people are from the PMJY, absolute downtrodden people. The aspirational districts have been talked about, and that is the district where we are doing the primary health. Now you have heard me providing the tertiary care and the ultimate super specialty treatment, but I am supposed to be looking after my own community. We have given employment of 1,250 odd people, local people, except few doctors from outside. Most of them are now coming up, the locals. Now, that much of engagement, that much of giving job to the people is not easy. It's a big industry. If I say, I will not be wrong. I am providing the primary care through the screening. It is my social responsibility. This hospital cannot run. We are not there to treat people from outside, and we have democratizing the complete healthcare system with our hospital.
So,
If I have to just yes, and the support which the Tata Trust, I must express my gratitude to the initiative taken, and we are here to showcase and take it forward. And I assure you, as long as I am here and the system exists, we will go forward and make proud of the complete Northeast with this Assam Cancer Care Foundation. We have got patients from Arunachal, all the Northeast. All right, and I extend my please, whenever you go back, just tell them that we are here in Assam, and they will be looked after as a special guest. The time we have already said, the time you come to know that somebody is from the neighboring state, please give special attention and give them an special experience. And that is my word today in front of this August gathering. Thank you very much, and thank you very much.
thank you, sir. So as we come to the end of the second session today, let me thank both Piramal Foundation and Tata Trust to have spoken about the good things that they've been doing. About the Tata Trust, they have just spoken about two very important things, I thought. One was the building of institutions, which I think is the prerequisite, or I would say that forms the base of a good work being done. So for NGOs, I think it carries a lot of importance. And the other thing is, I think, which the NGOs must keep in mind, is the self-sustenance. That means reaching self-sustenance should be part of the plan, rather than discovering it en route. So I think these are very important points that was brought out by Divyang. And as far as Kima and Mayor General Joshi is concerned, Jyoti Prakash is concerned, I think both sons of the soil, and that is what I think Piramal Foundation was also saying, that they would love to talk, talking to or getting the problem statements from the son of the soil actually touches the chord of what is required to be done, and that is a very important thing. And for the NGOs, one more very important point that came out of Kima's talk is they've been using, and also the general also talked about is PMGY, using the PMGY funds. These are central funds available, which we find that NGOs do not tap into. If you look at that first, you don't have to look at too much of things from outside. So this included with the other investments that others make, this would go a long way. So with this, we come to the end of the second session today, and let me thank once again Mr. Sanat, Krishna, Mr. Divyang Bagela, Kima, and Mayor General Jyoti Prakash. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And
thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you so much to our speakers for their time and expertise on the topic. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to share a small memento. I would like to request Brigadier Ashish Bhattacharya to kindly present the memento. Thank you. And with that, we conclude this session. I kindly request all the delegates to remain seated as we will start the next session immediately, kindly requesting that you allow us to quickly change the dais. Our next session will be focusing on plans and interventions by international agencies and multilaterals in the Northeast region. So kindly remain seated as we prepare the dais. Kindly requesting all delegates to make their way to the auditorium and kindly find your seats, as we'll be starting the next session shortly. Hello everyone. We will be starting our next session now. Kindly requesting everyone to please take their seats. The delegates to kindly take their seats. And even those at the exhibition hall, if you could kindly make your way to the auditorium, and we can start our session. The next session planned is on the topic of plans and interventions by international agencies, multilaterals in the Northeast region. International agencies and multilateral organizations play a pivotal role in fostering development, promoting stability, and enhancing connectivity across borders. In the context of Northeast India, their involvement becomes even more crucial, considering the geographic and social economic complexities that define the region. This session will explore the roles of international agencies and multilaterals as they understand how to navigate the roles in the development of the Northeast region. I kindly request everyone to settle down and find their seats as I invite the esteemed speakers to the dais. Starting with Mr. Joseph George, Senior Research Associate, UNESCAP, South and Southwest Asia Office. Ms. Anchal Karnt, Senior Economic Officer, Asia Development Bank. Ms. Kanta Singh, Deputy Country Representative, India, UN Women. Dr. Junko Onishi, Lead Social Protection Specialist and Program Leader, World Bank. And Mr. Manmohan Singh, Director, Piramal Foundation. Can I kindly request the dais to rise once to take a quick photo? And with that, I would like to pass the session over to Mr. Manmohan Singh to further chair the session and close the session off. Thank you.
नमस्कार। आप सुबह से सबको सुन रहे हैं। आई होप हिंदी इज़ ओके। आई कम फ्रॉम झारखंड, स्मॉल विलेज इन ईस्ट इंडिया, and I went to a government school under a mahua tree. People who are from East India may be aware of this tree. The flower of this tree is used to make alcohol, local alcohol. But that was not the reason why I was sitting under the tree. So I come from there and have gone through many problems which we have been talking here or in many conferences. We had 300 kids in our school, and when I went to college, somehow, just because of luck, I don't think it's because of anything else, and that's when I realized that not even 2% of my classmates from primary schools were able to complete schooling. And today when I look back, hardly 3% people are able to earn their livelihood and live life of dignity. So that's about me. This is the gathering of esteemed panel member here, and this is about multilateral agencies and their role in improving lives of people around the world. And today we are going to talk about Northeast in particular. So I just want to share my experience of what is the role of social sector in India since independence, briefly. So when I think post-independence till about 80s, largely the social sector had a limited investment, and there was any problem, some industrialist or philanthropist will go and solve that problem by building the school or a hospital or distribute some material and solve that problem then and there without thinking about long term, without thinking about system, but you were doing that because maybe that was the need at the time and government had a limited investment. But I think 80s to 2000, the role of social sector and non-profit organizations shifted a lot more to right-based advocacy. And many of us are aware that how we have multiple rights now, and that led to, amending the constitutions, having the right to education, right to information. Many rights came which was originated in that era. And I think if you move to 2000 to 2020, any problem you pick up, government has a scheme. Any problem you pick up. And we all know how many schemes might be there. If you pick up any states and look at, in Haryana, if you combine central schemes and the state scheme, maybe it is 470 schemes. So in that scenario, what is the role of non-profit? Can it be where it was just beginning of 47 to 80s era? And now we have CSR Act as well, which is mandated to spend money. And in all that context, what is the role of civil society sectors going forward? I think that's one question I have. And similarly, I think if we look at the multilateral agency's role since independence to now, right, 50s to 70s, if you look at, largely it was development assistance, infrastructure building, industrialization, right? Technical assistance was critical, and also those days 5 years plan used to be critical, and the focus on fund was high reliance on external, government of India, or we had just came out of the our previous experiences and post Azadi, so we dependent a lot more on external funds for large infrastructure project in particular. But when you look at 80s to 90s, there were lots of structural investment, structural changes needed, and their multilateral agency played a lot of role in influencing the policy, those liberalization had begun, so there were those role as well. And these financial assistance, financial contribution was needed for structural investment, new policies, and then poverty elevation, I think conversation began in those days, that how do you add value. And I think those days it is just beginning of education, health conversation has happened. While we hear a lot more that how education and health were not in the center of those economic development, because we had just begun. But from 2000 to 2000, and tens, till 20s, if we say, the conversation began with the multilateral about the partnership and the collaboration. How do you collaborate? Because government has begun putting lot more money, lot more focus. We were progressing. Capacity building became another buzzword, that how do you build the capability through multiple intervention. And I think we as a country had reduced lot more dependency. The beginning of reduction in dependency on external funding had begun in that time. And now we look at post 20, where India, at least the narrative is that now we have lot more global role. We are beginning to perceived as someone who can mediate, who can bring people together. We have started supporting many other countries, so our contribution has gone lot more higher as a country. So dependence is continued to reduced. We have taken multiple initiatives as a global leader in technology, in solar and things like that. So now, given this scenario, my request to all the panel member is to, what is the strategy now for multilateral agencies for India and particularly for Northeast? I'm not talking about how, my colleague Sant spoke about how critical and important it is to look at what Northeast offers for the country and for the world, right, in terms of natural resources, in terms of biodiversity, in terms of culture, right, those type of opportunity and the problem we are talking about. And in that context, if you all can present in 5-7 minutes, we'll have, we would want to understand that, and then maybe we'll take some question from audience. Maybe that will be useful for everyone. Thank you. Dr. Junko, do you want to go ahead and address?
Hello, my name is Junko Onishi. I'm the program leader in human development. I'm also the state coordinator for the Northeast and hilly states. I'm originally from Japan, but when I dress like this and go to the Northeast, people think I'm from there, and I'm really honored when I'm mistaken. Do I need to do something to, okay, great, thank you. So thank you very much for the context. I think it really sets the context very nicely. So generally, the World Bank, when we work with a country, we have a country partnership framework. And it's a strategy that sets the partnership framework, the framework for the partnership for the next 5 years. And right now, we're in the process of developing one. So once there is a very preliminary draft, we go around having consultations to the states, to the local areas, and I'm sure many of you here would be invited to those consultations. So please do participate. When we, in general, when we work with our partners, usually the governments, we work with the central government and state governments. We work following 3 pillars. We have lending operations, we have technical assistance, and we have an analytical work that we provide, which is part of technical assistance. But the second and the third pillar, the technical and the analytical part, is what we believe is the value add that the World Bank brings. So we do operations, lending operations, but it's not just about financing. And the reason that the states and the central government wants to work with us is because we bring in the value add, the technical assistance and the analytical work. So my presentation follows these three areas and what we are working on in the Northeast these days. The next slide, please. Oh, do I need to move it? Oh, no, thank you. So right now we have 13 projects, and these are state-level projects. These are ongoing, and they're being implemented right now. The total commitment of these 13 state projects in the Northeast is 1.6 billion. And if you consider that our commitment in total in India is about 18 billion, this is about 8.89% of our total commitment, our work in India. And if you think about it, the population in the Northeast is about 3.8%, 4%. So our investment in the Northeast is much bigger in relative terms in the Northeast. Because we work at the state level, and usually the states are the states come to the bank, to us, to ask for the partnership, and we respond to these requests. The number of projects in each of these states really is a reflection of the requests that we get from states. Of course, their fiscal capacity and fiscal space matter as well. And as you can see, the sectors that we work in are very varied. We work in infrastructure, in transportation, in water, in agriculture, but we also invest a lot in human development, health and education, and also social protection programs. We take a lot of pride in that. We have also 4 projects in the pipeline, and these are also in environment and also in education in Assam and transportation in roads. All of the projects that we have in the Northeast, they tend to take longer to implement because the capacity of the local government, the state government, but they are performing well. All of the projects are good performing projects. Corporately, the World Bank, we do pay more and more attention in private capital mobilization, which means let's try to get private sector to work with the government. And so CSR is the way that we do seek collaboration to work in our projects. And that is something that we really would like to partner with all of you going forward. And I think a lot of the sectors, I think there are sectors that are more, the MSME sector, the skills development, it might be a little bit more intuitive to work with the private sector, but there are other sectors like education, health, it's a little bit of a struggle. So if you could, participate in the discussions when we are doing project preparation, that's when then we can bring you all aboard and work together. Next slide, please. And I'll go faster next. So apart from our operations, at the regional level, we have technical assistance on looking at the region with the neighboring countries in regional integration. So we're working with Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, and the ASEAN countries. How can we promote economic development by bringing all these countries together? In the context of the Northeast region, of course, we really would like to support the connectivity through investments in different ways of connectivity, like infrastructure, in railroads, and other logistics. The integration, of course, is very important with the neighboring countries in the Northeast because of its unique location. And also about looking about value chains and the comparative advantage that the Northeast has in terms of its cultural and agricultural products. Lastly, we are at the World Bank India office, we are in the process of preparing a Northeast Economic Development Report, and we're working with MDONA. And this report looks at, it's not a sectoral report, we look at micro, macro, industrial, institutional factors holistically. We bring in we do an analysis of the characteristics of each of the states, and then also looking at the region, at the sub-region. Our recommendations coming out of this analysis would take into account the state capacity, the development stage, and also looking at each of the sectors. We hope to highlight the comparative advantage of each of the states leading towards developing of a state and sub-regional strategy going forward. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Junko. Can I request now Joseph to go ahead and share your work? But it will be good to keep in mind the context.
Thank you, Chair, and I would like to thank CII for this opportunity to share some of our work at UNESCAP. We work on connectivity in the Northeast. We don't work directly on social development issues, but connectivity, basically looking at how it can benefit small-scale industries from the Northeast. So it has a lot of social sector spillovers, of course. So I represent UNESCAP. It's a complicated name, so it's not uncommon for us to hear people say UNESCAPE. It sounds like a holiday destination, but it is not. ESCAP stands for Economic and Social Commission for Asia Pacific. It's one of the 5 regional commissions of the UN mandated to work on economic and social development issues in the Asia Pacific region. So we foster cooperation between countries which are relevant for economic and social development. So one of our areas, we have 62 member countries from Asia Pacific, and of course India, Bangladesh, Nepal, countries from this region, South Asia region, are members of ESCAP. And I am from the South Asia office we have here in New Delhi. Well, one of our areas is connectivity, and I expect that most of you must have at least heard of the Asian Highways. The Asian Highways is basically an international agreement on road transport agreement signed by ESCAP member countries in 2003. So it's basically, some of the main segments of Asian Highways also passes through Northeast. And those segments become especially important in the context of what we often hear from the government about the Act East policy, connecting with Southeast Asia, finding new markets. And Northeast, of course, becomes very important in that scheme of things. Say, for instance, the highway that comes from Southeast Asia, which comes from the Moreh in Myanmar to connecting, Imphal, Kohima, then Dimapur, then it goes to Guwahati, Shillong, Dauki to Bangladesh, and some parts of it goes to Nepal. It branches out to Bhutan. So these are segments. These are basically part of Asian Highway 1. So some of these segments are obviously very important for Northeast, especially in terms of getting more market access for the small scale sector. And if these corridors function well, obviously the trade costs will come down, and generating opportunities and so on. So we have been trying to engage the Asian Highway coordination committees and working groups that we host at ESCAP to look at how we can use this network to develop Northeast region. So we work with not only the central government, MDONOR, but also with state governments. Especially in the recent times, we have had like a lot of collaboration with the government of Meghalaya. And we look at, beginning with, in these committees, we look at issues such as border infrastructure, how we are dealing with trade procedures, customs procedures, trade facilitation, etc., etc. So we involve basically transport departments, border agencies, border control agencies, land ports authorities, customs, etc. But we quickly realized that a top-down approach to policy making in transport or trade is not going to work all by itself. because we heard from Shant Krishna in the morning, there are these local, entities, NGOs, local communities, which knows what they want and who can offer real solutions. So we decided to involve them in our committees, and we started a series of stakeholder consultations over a period of time, especially in the last 3-4 years. And we found that there is a huge difference that makes. We see a lot of dynamism to our decision making process. So that is the answer to the question, what has changed in terms of involvement of multilateral agencies. Now they have realized that all this working with the government is fine, but we need to consult with the local stakeholders. So in our consultation process, 3 areas have come up in which we want to focus. We already started the work, and we want to take it forward in the coming years. Number 1 is when you talk about transport, cargo aggregation. That's one of the main reasons why Northeast has stayed back, because what the Northeast generates stays in small units here and they're scattered all over the region. So if it's talking about collecting and then aggregating, so that becomes volumes, and volumes attracts big players. So that gives a lot of opportunities for reducing per unit transport costs and generating more profitability to the business entities from the region. So that's one area we work, and there are already some initiatives in the Northeast, like the Meghalaya LAM project, which is a initiative by the Meghalaya Basin Development Authority with the technical and financial support of IFAD. It's basically a rural market access, rural employment, livelihoods and market access project, where they have established as part of their project collection centers at various localities where the farmers can bring in their produce and they can aggregate. So we try to now support such initiatives in northeastern states. The second aspect that we picked up for ourselves is value addition. So most of these entities that they produce, but they are not unable to, because of lack of access to capital and technology, they are not able to upgrade in the value chain. So we try to bridge that gap by working with agencies like NEDFI who have projects on this. We give technical advice, and also sometimes meet with other potential investors that can generate a huge pool of capital from which these entities can grow. The third is providing market linkages. We know for sure that the Northeast produces a lot of great products, unique products for sure, but they are not very well marketed. And at SCAP we have a platform called Asia Pacific Business Forum. So we encourage now our members, regular members, like local industry associations which participate in our meetings to be part of this ABPF, so that they can network, and they can also build connection, build contracts, so that they get help from experienced leading industry leaders to do more value addition. So we hope to continue these areas and scale up these areas in the coming years, and we'll be happy to partner with like-minded organizations and CSR initiatives in the region. So I'll close on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. I would be curious to know, how do you do bottom-up planning? How are you listening to the community? But after we finish this, that will be interesting to know. Can I request now Achal to go and present on behalf of Asian Development Bank?
So thank you for having us here, and thank you, Mr. Singh, Junko Sian and Joseph, for setting the context very well. Most of us multilaterals work more or less similarly in terms of our country partnership strategies and engaging with the governments. So that kind of reduces my time for the presentation. So that helps. Thank you. Just running you through the thought process with which we are working in the Northeast region of India. Our work with ADB has close to $15 billion portfolio in India and over 73 ongoing projects, a pipeline of about 5 to 7 billion per annum. And our engagement in India is governed by the country partnership strategy, which is in alignment with Government of India priorities. Currently, our country partnership strategy for 23-27 is being implemented, which focuses on catalyzing climate resilient, robust, inclusive growth. The three pillars of the strategy are there on the slide. Industrial corridors and clusters are covered under Pillar 1, MSME integration with global value chains, financial access and digitalization. And we're looking at it as an integrated urban industries, skills, transport linkage, convergence projects. Pillar 2 covers energy transitions and circular economy. Pillar 3 would be of interest to you. It covers human development, health, skills, education, agri and rural development. Given the size of India and nature of the development in the states, where the states are in different stages of development, ADB is adopting a differentiated approach to engagement with select states to identify development challenges and provide customized financial and technical assistance as per the development deficits in those states. While we are working across the Northeast region, Assam and Tripura are our long-term partnerships and strategic partnership states amongst others. So ADB presence in the region has been for a very long time. ADB has been actively promoting regional cooperation in South Asia through SASEC, which is South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation Initiative, since 2001, and currently India is the current chair. As the Secretariat, ADB is also actively working on drafting the new long-term strategy and strategic vision. ADB has been actively engaged in conceptualizing and projectizing the economic corridors in India. So starting from East Coast Economic Corridor, from Kanyakumari, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, Kolkata, to Bangladesh, and then economic corridors traversing the Northeast region. ADB portfolio in these projects is close to $2 billion. Keeping this economic corridor approach in perspective, Northeast Economic Corridor is a logical extension to all these economic corridors that we have been working on. And ADB has detailed out and conducted an extensive study on the Northeast Economic Corridor that provides strategic direction to develop the Northeast region. So NEC final report was accepted by the government in 2023. It involved over 350 consultations with government, NEC, centers, states, academia, industry, private sector, and so on. And many regional workshops were organized. So it was based on a lot of consultative approach. How can I use this? How can I use this? Can anybody help? I just want to click on that core network.
Can you click the computer only? Yeah.
Not this. Oh, okay, sure. No. Okay, sure. So the core network is basically, as Joseph also mentioned, is based on the Asian Highway Network and the connecting the core economic centers, major urban industrial and trade centers in the Northeast region, extended to connect all the border centers and the major economic points where trade facilitation would be important. And this is like showing you an overlay of the Northeast Economic Corridor in the region. Similarly, support network was created to provide access to the economic centers of the state. So extensive work was done on looking at what are the industries in each of the states, what are their status and where they need to be connected. So I'll just show you one example. For each of the states, growth centers, border centers, various industries were identified. And for example, if you see, core and branch network was identified, growth centers, border centers, tourism activities, bamboo, cement, aggregation locations, and core and support networks to connect these locations to the core network. So all this work was done. Growth centers, majority of them have been identified and they fall on the core network. So about 24 of them have been identified. They have been phased out on their readiness. Similarly, various border centers have been identified to connect to connect the Northeast to the larger region and facilitate trade. Moving on from there, ADB supports upstream studies and knowledge support to help realize the government's vision and to unlock the potential in the region. I've already spoken about the NEEC study. We also worked with the government of Assam to develop a report on Assam as India's gateway to ASEAN, which identifies the various cross-border trade opportunities and developing economic corridor between India and regional neighbors. Industrial park rating system looks at various industrial parks. It assesses them on various internal, external infrastructure and facilities and ease of doing business, etc. Then work has been done on trade facilitation, how to enhance trade facilitation, how to provide alternate routes for connectivity. Also in the region, government of West Bengal had requested ADB to commission a study on the West Bengal component of the East Coast Economic Corridor, which is also ongoing. So it will lead to larger integration of the region. At the moment, ADB has about $1.4 billion of ongoing projects and about $3.5 billion of pipeline projects across sectors. One of the projects worth mentioning here would be the Assam Skills University, which is an ongoing project. It looks at skill development across 8 sectors of the economy: entrepreneurship, social development. It looks at establishing COE, Center of Excellence for MSMEs, building skills for public services, research development, teachers training. So this interim campus will be functional this year in July. And early stage private sector participation and partnership consultations are already ongoing. Important role of NGOs in these kind of projects is to do outreach activities for encouraging students, especially women, and that is encouraged by the departments right from the beginning. This is something important that I would like to talk about in terms of our future, our way of working with the Northeast regions. Given the capacity deficits in the states, ADB has now come out with a project readiness financing modality. This helps support development of investable projects by providing resources and technical and financing and handholding support. ADB is also funding a young professionals program, which embeds qualified professionals in government setups. Now, this whole process is actually helping states prepare investable projects, and what we have seen is an increase in the number of proposals and ensuing projects from Northeast region, which was earlier very slow. So these are like the downstream projects after all those project readiness facility assistance has been given to the state. Further, to address the borrowing capacity caps in the Northeast region and to help develop multi-sectoral linkages to boost economic growth, we are also working with the Ministry of Donor to develop a multi-sector program in the Northeastern states. It looks again at a convergence approach of industry, urban, transport, logistics, energy, skills. And we're looking, an initial assessment is currently being undertaken. Stakeholder consultations with the state is being undertaken now. This is a list of pipeline projects in Northeast region. We're also working with Tripura infrastructure development and industrial estates. So one of the things that we were discussing before the panel started was, how ADB is involving with the social issues as far as the projects are concerned. So while the project title you are looking here is Infrastructure Development of Industrial Estates in Tripura, the project looks at gender elements and enhancement of women workforce in industries. It looks at developing skills policy, and so many policy actions are designed which will give nudge to develop a complete ecosystem of industrial development in the state across gender and social components. Similarly, there is an early childhood development project in Meghalaya, which I can mention over here, which looks at bringing various departments together and convergence of funds and expertise to, like ASHA workers and midday meal programs and so many other, and it provides mental health support to new mothers, So that is integrated in projects like this. So this is what I had to present today. Thank you so much for listening so patiently.
Thank you so much. There are lots of exciting work ADB is doing, and economic corridor was a really, I think the way you presented made me feel that it is alive. You know, it's a, I will have a question with you that while economic corridor is developed or being developed slowly, how much of job it has already created? Will be good to understand that, but maybe after I would request Kantaji to share from UN Women. We are aspiring to become Viksit Bharat, and the role of women has been discussed quite a bit in last few years. So it would be good to understand, given the multilateral agency's role and where India is.
Thank you, Manmohan, and it was lovely meeting you. I was surprised. Manmohan and I know each other very well. Thank you, CII, for inviting UN Women and all of us colleagues from UN to be here this morning. मनमोहन, आपने अपने गांव की बात की तो मुझे भी मेरा गांव याद आया. बस पेड़ फर्क था, बैठे वहीं थे हम भी. बट यहाँ मुझे खड़े होके बोलने का थोड़ा कम आदत है, मैं घबरा जाती हूँ. So if I make some mistake, please forgive me for that. There is additional pressure when you stand here, and I don't have a presentation, so I'll just talk about some of the things that we are doing. But I'll start with what you asked, Manmohan, as to how have we changed our strategy to work in India and how we are working together. That's another thing I want to touch upon, as to how does UN and multilateral bodies come together to work collectively in a particular area. And you also mentioned that things have changed from 50s to now. Absolutely, things have changed. We used to be donors earlier. Multilateral bodies, particularly UN, used to be seen as a donor in the country. Now that has changed over a period of time for two reasons. One, India is emerging as a major economy, so it doesn't need the same kind of money that it needed some time back. Also, the money that UN has, at least, and I'm not talking about the banks here, is being given by member states. And there has been a reduction in that money. I joined UN 15 years back, and I remember in UNDP, where I used to work, we used to spend about $100 million a year in India, and that has come down to even less than half now. UN gets its money from member states, as you know. We are also here and decide the areas of work as per the invitation of the government. If central government says UN is required in the country, that is how UN is. That's where we work. Also, the areas are defined and agreed upon in consultations with the government. So we have something called UN SDCF, UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, which is signed between UN as a whole and Government of India every 5 years. So under that agreement, UN agencies are generally they decide, and they also, government has to agree that we are going to work in these 6 areas. I'm not talking about geographies here. 6 thematic areas, and then these are the locations. So that there's a regular reporting every 6 months, and that again, the Government of India particularly takes huge interest in how we work, where we work, what we do, and there's a regular reporting on that. UN Women, being the youngest and smallest agencies of the UN system, has been here only from 2010. So I can't claim to have done the kind of work that other colleagues shared, but as the mandate says, we work with women, and that puts us in a very or that puts us in the spotlight that it's a very clear mandate. We are not confusing ourselves with other bodies which have more money, more presence, and more physical capacity to support the government. The kind of work that we used to do earlier has also changed over a period of time. Sometimes we used to have 2 modalities called national implementation modality and also direct implementation modality. That means we used to support the government, or we used to put the money in the government, and they would spend it the way they wanted. And second, the DIM modality, where we used to give money to CSOs, academic organizations, and other bodies to spend money on our behalf. Now, NIM modality is coming going lower and lower in priorities because of lack of funds primarily. And that also means that we work now more closely with the government to do three things. One, technical support, because government still relies on UN agencies for technical support. We call it technical assistance. Second is capacity building, which is a huge part of what UN does in the country. And third one definitely is we still work very closely with pre-identified or a process-oriented selection of NGOs, civil society organizations, and sometimes government bodies like ATIs and major institutions that are also working with the government. So UN Women, because it works with women, has been working in the Northeast in three different ways. One, definitely we work in the tea gardens, for example, on health, safety, wellness of workers, where we try to make them aware about their legal and social, cultural, political rights, but mostly in relation to the health and well-being of these workers. That is one area of work, and we have been working there for now for 5 years. Second area of work is on gender responsive budgeting. Like CSR, government also spends, and you were talking about, Manmohan, about various schemes, and here we look at government budgets from a gender lens. So under which there are multiple steps that we take and multiple ways in which we support the government. Assam is the current state, but we have worked in Manipur for last 4 years and also in Nagaland. We try to bring a focus on women, how government spends its money. Is it enough? Is it in line with what the women of the area want? That kind of work happens in 10 states now and also with the central government, 48 ministries here. But Northeast is the new focus area for us, and we'll continue to work there. We also document some of the success stories from every region, and Northeast being one. Recently we came out with a book called Hum. Hum means we, and women leaders from Northeast area were also included in that. With UNDP, we are going to prepare a gender snapshot of Northeast, where many of us understand that women are extremely powerful in Northeast. They own property, they do this, but many things are not true. We don't understand the reason very well. So in consultation with the government, we want to prepare a gender snapshot of Northeast, particularly also progress on SDGs and gender goal 5 to be specific. With the UNSCAP, we are going to work with Land Ports Authority of India. We have already submitted a proposal to the government, and we are in discussion with them, where we want to bring in more women in the trade, in the other facilities, infrastructure that is created to promote trade across the countries. So these are some of the initiatives that we have in the Northeast. Safe Cities program is also, many cities from the Northeast are also included there in the Safe Cities. Since CSR companies are here, and I think CSOs which are working with CSR are here, I just wanted to highlight two things as far as CSR is concerned. There's less than 3% money spent by CSR companies on women-specific programs. So there's a huge need to increase your investment in women, particularly in Northeast, because we have women coming from Northeast to come in the mainstream here in the country. Here, this part of the country, they are looking for employment because there are not enough opportunities there, because industry presence is lower, I would say. So they are looking for employment here. So they need all kinds of support. So that is one thing. Also health, wellness, connectivity, infrastructure, child care facilities. There are multiple things that women need, like other parts of the country. Northeast needs little more. So that was one request I had. Sports was another area, which I thought Northeastern girls are doing extremely well, and we need to continue investing in girls there. Also probably on women's leadership. Even though we say matrilineal society, women are doing businesses, they are still in very small, micro, nano businesses in Northeast. How do we increase their capacity to do more? How do we make finances available to women to scale up their businesses so that they also start doing cross-border business and also bring it to this part of the country? And the third point that I wanted to ask was about language. Many a times, because we don't understand and we make generic statements about Northeastern women, we need to be sensitive and also responsive to what are the specific needs of women in Northeast, and not just put all parts of Northeast in one frame. I think there are region-specific, state-specific variations, and every state has its own unique set of challenges. I think we need to start listening to the women there and then start addressing those challenges there. My last thought was, Brigadier Ashish said, sons of the soil. Let's also change that language and say daughters of the soil. If we really, I mean, and in our day-to-day conversations, let's bring women's issues at the center of everything we do, because without women, development of any region, forget about Northeast, is not possible. Of course, the human capital that we are missing out on is very, very critical, and we need to pay attention to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kanta ji. आपने बहुत सारे critical aspect of women you brought, whether women in business, women perception, women capability, women, budgeting around women, CSR spent around women. There are multiple aspects you brought, so thank you so much. Now I have lots of questions for the panel member, but I think समय की पाबंदी को देखते हुए it will be good if I open it to the audience first, because I can ask this question on the sideline as well. I hope that's okay with the panel members. Any question? जी, आप माइक दे सकते हैं उनको. I would request please introduce yourself and सवाल ही पूछिएगा, नहीं तो कमेंट में टाइम बहुत लग जाता है, बाकी लोग को मौका नहीं मिलेगा. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Vibhuti Prasad Lahakar. My question is to Joseph. You said that lots of connectivity is going to happen in Northeast India, even Ansal also. So in doing that, as you know, Northeast is also it's very rich in biodiversity as part of the 2 global biodiversity hotspot. Lots of forest is also going to cut down in doing so. So what is your mitigation plan? I have not seen any mitigation activities doing that. And also I have not seen forest department as stakeholder, and also NGOs working there. So what is your take on that? Thank you.
Thank you. You want to take it? Or can we take 1 or 2 more questions maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? जी, वहाँ पीछे में आप यदि देंगे माइक.
Good afternoon, I am Ramesh Negi. I am President of Integrated Mountain Initiative. We work in the Indian Himalayan region, including Northeast, and our work is mainly on climate change. I would request that climate change issue should be in the center for future, as you know. And we have seen last year disasters in Himachal and Sikkim, where almost 500 people lost their lives. So disaster resilience, organizing communities for that, especially the women and the students, should be one of the focus. We are willing to collaborate. We have presence in all the 11 Himalayan states and UTs, and IMI would be welcoming anyone to cooperate with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you had a comment, not a question. Thank you for that.
I have a question that whether climate change is a priority.
Good. Okay, और कोई सवाल है? Yeah, here. You don't have to force yourself to ask question. But यहाँ पे माइक दे दीजिएगा. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So in your presentation, you do make tremendous amount of numbers and analysis. So that information, is it available in public domain? And if I'm supposed to access that, so what do I have to do? Especially on that Northeast corridor.
Can I respond to it right now?
Can we go in sequence is better? Yeah, thank you, Kema. Thanks. Last question, maybe.
My name is Maria. I'm Director, Commerce and Industries. My question is to Ms. Junko Onishi. From the slide she presented, I have seen that there is a project in Mizoram for health. Can she tell me what exactly is the project that World Bank is undertaken in Mizoram? And the second one is to Ms. Kanta Singh. Being a woman, in Mizoram we have a women organization we called Mizoram Meitei Sui Kompol. It has every branches in every village. But, you know, like the women are less, they have less privilege in decision making. In the panchayat level, though we have 33% reservation seats, but in the general MLA elections, we do not still have a 33% representation.
Yeah.
And can the United Nations intervene in our states on this issue through the women organization? That is my question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Joseph, you want to take that forest cut question?
Certainly, certainly. Thank you, Dr. Bibhuti Prasad, for the question. Very important question indeed, because yeah, this is an issue that concerns the whole of Northeast, how we can make trade more sustainable. Like when UNSCAP started the connectivity work, as I mentioned, our focus was basically on how to improve the trade systems so that we can bring down the cost, irrespective of what product we are trading. For instance, if I take this example that, you know, from the ESCAP World Bank trade cost database, we get bilateral trade cost between any two pairs of countries. So in that trade database, what we note is that, you know, the trade cost between, bilateral trade cost between India and Bangladesh is 200 plus percentage ad valorem basis, 214 or something until recently. And the bilateral trade cost of India with UK or France is 150%. So bilateral trade cost between India and Bangladesh, who share a large border, land border with them, and the next territory is just 15 kilometers away, is 250%, and we trade with UK at 160%. It's irrational, it's insane. So the trade cost is very high because of number of issues, like, you know, we have outdated customs procedures, you know, manual processes, etc., etc. So we have to remove, and a lot of issues initiatives are going on to reduce this. So our focus is to help those, to speed up those initiatives, give technical assistance for that. Now, since we started involving local traders, we started looking at other issues as well. What is the composition of trade, how we can improve, etc., etc. So for Northeast, for instance, when we worked with Meghalaya, you know that in Meghalaya, bulk of the trade that goes to Bangladesh is stone chips, and which is basically mining, and it's not sustainable. But Meghalaya has a lot of agro products to trade. So the answer to your question is trade diversification, and we need all our, you know, collective efforts to diversify trade and improve the composition of the share of agro products in trade. In Bhutan, you know, for agro they use RNR. RNR stands for renewable natural resources. So that's a beautiful term which we don't use. We should start using that. So we need more renewable natural resources in our trade. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Achal, you want to take that question on whether these are available in public domain or not? That was the main question, right?
Mr. Kema, so these reports are approved by the Government of India. They are available with Ministry of Donair, Ministry of Northeast Region. It is available with all state governments. And ADB is also looking at publishing some portions of this report. So once that is done, it will also be available on ADB website.
But is this some portion of this might be in the website of Donier?
That's up to them. I haven't seen that so far, but
maybe some in your website, ADB website?
We have mentioned that this has been done, but we don't publish the reports unless governments do. Right. So we are publishing some portions of it, which should be available by early next year.
Yeah. Okay.
But otherwise, governments, all governments have it, and that will be the point of contact.
Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Junko, you want to take that Mizoram, what health work you're doing? That was the main question.
But climate change, absolutely. Everything we do, we make sure that we have the climate change mitigation adaptation lens through it. So absolutely. Mizoram, it's a health system strengthening project. So it's a strengthening of delivery of primary health services. If you look up in the website, you would find more information.
कांता जी, आपके लिए तो बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट सवाल है कि एंड मेरा भी उसमें सवाल है दैट आई थिंक इफ यू लुक एट हेल्थ फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर इन इंडिया, नॉट जस्ट नॉर्थ ईस्ट, ट्रिपल एज, आशा, ANM, आंगनवाड़ी, all women, right? If you go to education also, percentage is higher. But as you grow in the hierarchy of the leadership, right, number is very less. That is not encouraging. And she was giving example of legislative assembly numbers.
Right.
What
and
you have to say in that?
I was talking to you about that when we started actually in the morning. Absolutely, ma'am, Northeast is actually really lagging behind in terms of political leadership. Not that, I don't want to talk about that, sorry. The overall figures, 14% women in the parliament, 9% overall in the state assemblies. Many states in Northeast where we didn't have a single woman so far. I'm hoping that with the new reservation bill, which we are hoping will start getting implemented in 2029, we will have at least 33% women. Why it is important to have women in these decision-making bodies? Let's think about that. Without us being there, you are talking about us. You're talking about our bodies. You're talking about what we want. You're talking about how much money we need. And if we are not there because of so many structural barriers, our issues are not going to be taken up. And that's how the number of 33%, the critical mass that we talk about. Unless there are 3 women amongst 10 people in the room, 3 women, 7 men, women will not be able to speak. So tokenism is not enough. Symbolism is not enough. We need real numbers at the tables where decisions are made. Climate change, sir, is one of the examples. You'll find men going in private jets in COP28, wearing green ties. Women are doing side events. Whereas climate change impacts women and children in the worst possible ways. So we need to talk more about leadership, and that's what I was talking to and requesting and urging CSR and companies to start paying attention to the human capital. We need women in decision-making bodies, and political decision-making is very, very crucial because millions of women are impacted through just one policy. So it is important that we start paying attention to that. We need to bring women, if not at par, at least in the critical mass in all decision-making bodies, including gatherings like these. Our views are very important, so don't make any decisions without women being there. So we say it, nothing about us without us. So that means we have to be there. And thank you for raising this. I was just talking to Manmohan before we started the panel.
Thank you so much. I think I'll just add one thing is that based on the decentralization, constitutionally we have in India, whether it is panchayat or school management committee or Arogya Samiti or village health and sanitation committees, even at that level, right, while it is mandated, example, village sanitation and water committee has to have 50% of women member, but unfortunately the democratic decision, right, taken by women is not there. Even at bottom level, and whether it is health or education or water or food or nutrition, you pick up any of these issues and the capability, experience which women have, men doesn't have, because they are going through these issues on daily basis. So I think my experience on that is, of course, at the senior leadership which we spoke about, but even at the bottom level, if we have to solve the education, health, gender issues, if a girl is dropping out the school, there is early marriage. Yeah. If she goes for early marriage, there is early pregnancy. And a child delivered with a malnutrition and mother is anemic. Yeah. This family goes through a poverty cycle for whole life. So I think this is extremely important issue. Raviji, thank you for raising the climate. And I think nobody will say on the stage no, even on the side, because we are all hit by this. Right? Almost in Northeast, if you look at more than 30% administrative block are flooded for 3-4 months. And we work there, and it's an extremely difficult situation. We can't sit here and have opinion. So I would request leadership from CII. We should have a climate change impact in Northeast and see what is happening there. Maybe there are some good practices which should go to entire India or outside the country as well. And what needs to be done, whether in terms of capability building, investment, innovation. So that's my thought. But thank you everyone. I request everyone to give a huge round of applause to the panel member for the work your organization is doing in India to build infrastructure, to build the non-infrastructure. I'm very happy to see ADB is building the skill university, to the role of women, to the health strengthening system, to not just building the ASEAN road, but I think the question is that, once you have that, it will become gateway of ASEAN. So I think all these are hope for us that, we'll achieve our aspiration of becoming a developed country, and that means that, the lives in these places, Chandel or Namsai or Khipri, right, these districts in Northeast, the people living there will live life with dignity. That's my hope. So thank you everyone.
Thank you so much to esteemed speakers on the dais for your time and experience. As a token of our appreciation, I would kindly request Mr. Manmohan Singh to present a small memento. I would now like to request Dr. Junko Onishi to present the memento to Mr. Manmohan Singh. Thank you so much, and thank you for that wonderful session. Dear delegates, we'll be resuming the next session shortly. I kindly request you to give us time to change the dais, and we will start straight away with the CSR pitching sessions as soon as we are ready. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Kindly requesting you to return back to the auditorium as we will be starting our session for the NGO pitching shortly. We also kindly request you make your way to the auditorium so that we can start the session. Good afternoon. We'll be starting our session for the NGO CSR pitching. Once again, I would like to request Dr. Lina Deshpande, Associate Vice President, HR and CSR, Bharat Forge, to take her place in the dais and moderate the session. Thank you, Dr. Lina. So we'll go straight into it. The first NGO that will be presenting is Sandix. I apologize for my pronunciation. Sandix Kali Ma, Saroda Women and Rural Welfare Society. Please take your time.
Hello. Good afternoon all. Thank you CII for selecting us to represent here our project. Myself Shubhashish Mundal, Secretary of this organization. With me Devdut Bhattacharya, Executive Member, who will present our project.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Myself, Devdut Bhattacharya, Executive Member of Sandeshkhali Ma Saroda Women Rural Welfare Society. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to presenting our project at CIA. As you can see, our project for the Northeast state Assam, we are going to doing a project of solar light installation for illuminating lives of Assam rural villages. For this project, we have selected two backward districts of Assam, that is West Korobi Anglong and the Darong districts.